I really would like to keep on talking about Nicole Kidman, and also to keep on talking how much do you do admire my work. So let's start.
So we just met each other for the first time.
Here. Yes.
Right here, just 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
But I've met you in my heart a very long time ago.
Oh, well, I'm old. Yeah. I'm older than you.
No, but, I'm a huge admirer, and I was so honored to be in your presence. And
oh, thank you.
I've always, coming from the theater, myself, I've always recognized the theater in all of your work.
Oh, yes. And it is very, very present in all my movies.
Yes.
Very much. But, I never direct a play. I feel like, no. It is very present sometimes, but I never did it.
You don't feel the need to direct a play?
I mean, it's very appealing for me. I feel that I have to do it someday. But, I became Pedro Almodóvar, which is my name. And now, I mean, if I make a play, I'm a debutant. And I don't think the people are waiting for someone that is the first time that direct a play on theater.
I would love. I mean, I think you have directed plays within your movies. I mean, The Human Voice by Cocteau.
Yes.
Is a play you did.
Yeah. And also in Pain and Glory, there is a character that is an actor. He plays something that I wrote called The Addiction. I wrote it in the 80s. It represents very much that decade in Spain, because I mean, I belong to that generation, the generation that was raised during the 80s. Just because Spain was a new democracy, so I was very lucky to be young at that moment, because then you can enjoy every kind of freedom.
Yeah, everything opened up.
Yes. And then it was an incredible moment. Yes, the theater always appears in my movies.
Yes, very present, very.
You have a lot of experience as a theater actress.
Yeah, I was mainly a stage actress. I did The Human Voice for 15 years.
Really? We have many things in common.
Many things. Yeah, I was so excited when I heard you were gonna make the movie about it. Yes, for me, it is totally in me, that play. I mainly was a stage actress until I decided to direct, and I felt, for me, theater is religion for me. So I was like, I didn't want to direct in theater. It almost felt too scary. So I felt I could be more playful directing a movie. And that's why around my, I think, 43, I started to write in the wings Instinct, my first movie, because I felt I could be more reborn again, because I wanted to invent it myself again.
No, because it's something very different. You have to make a movie on it.
Yes.
Even for the actors, I mean,
so different. Yes. So I really felt less heavy as I would have directed in the theater. So that was my choice to then try to direct a movie. But I took all the theater plays with me into the movies
I think
that
it's
I made.
the best. I mean, I think it's the best school for an actor.
Yes.
I mean, yes, to have.
Yes.
And what about the future? You think to, of course, directing movies.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go back to be an actress. No.
During my first movie, when I was editing, I was still on stage at night. I was on the contract.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my
so
God.
I was still performing at night, and I would edit during the day, and then.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
At the same
very
time.
Interesting.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was very crazy. Very long days, of course.
Yeah. Very long days.
But no, I feel we were touring the world all the time, and I was playing one week Hedda Gabler in Korea, next week Taming of the Shrew in New York, next week. And at a certain moment, growing older, I started to become scared on stage because it was too much.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
No, it's too much effort for your mind.
Yes.
Especially.
Yes, and a sentence like "I love you," a line like "I love you" is almost in every classical play. So I would say "I love you" and I'd be like, "Who am I? Am I the shrew? Am I Hedda? Am I Nora? Am I, and Mary Stuart? Who am I?"
No,
and that was scary.
And also to have two different stories at the same time.
Yes.
No, I mean, when I'm writing, for example, I can combine one script with some new ideas from other, this is when I finish the script and I'm making the corrections. I can still write something different, but not completely, in the same way of development, or or even when you're shooting, when I'm shooting, and I'm shooting and editing the movie, so this is the 24 hours.
No, I completely agree. Now I do exactly the same. I really want to go through the whole thing, finish, and then think of something new. I'm a little traumatized by the European repertory theater. That keeps everything, you play everything at the same time. But I think there's no better school for me than to exist in these plays.
Absolutely.
Also for writing. All these plays are in my bones, so that's my school for writing, really.
You can do everything now, from now on. That's good.
And how did you experience, because of course the human voice was already in English, right?
Yeah,
yes.
This is my first movie in English.
Yeah, you're longer, exactly.
Yeah, a long feature because I made with Tilda Swinton, first The Human Voice, and also with Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal, A Strange Way of Life.
Yes.
That was just to discover if I could do a long feature in English. I feel very scary at the beginning, so I didn't. I prefer to start with a short, and the experience was very good with them. So just when I wrote the script, I wrote it in Spanish. Yes. After it was translated, and after being translated, it was translated again, just to be completely sure about the language.
Yeah.
And also at the end, sometimes the actresses Tilda or Julianne, they correct me and say, Pedro, I think this line, it's better if we say it like that. And of course, I don't fight because I can't compare my English with them. But yes, this is the first one.
I'm watering the plants.
I thought you had someone who did that for you.
I do. But today I felt like doing it, and I'm enjoying it.
Okay, good.
It was easier than I thought. Perhaps because I was very lucky to work with Tilda Swinton, that I knew her before. Between us there is a chemistry. We became immediate, very close friends.
Yeah.
But also I was very lucky that between Tilda and Julianne, they didn't know each other. And when I called them, they were very happy to work together because they really loved the idea. And they became very close friends. Actually, they start talking since the very beginning, since the first rehearsal. Between takes, they were talking all the time in just the 10 weeks that we made the movie. There was a moment that I told them, there is any kind of topic that you didn't talk about, because they were talking and talking and talking. That was good because...
It's amazing, no? Yeah.
That was good because, it's the story of two friends, and it's good because you see that chemistry on the screen.
And all of this is for you. You have to finish all of it.
Wow, well, I will do my best. I love fruit.
I love their chemistry. And of course, they're two icons, they're two giants as far as actors.
Yes.
And when did you know in the process that you wanted them?
Well, since the beginning, I thought, after making Human Voice, really I was very hooked by Tilda, and I wanted to make something else with her, just if there is an idea. And then when two years later appears The Room Next Door, immediately when I was writing about the sick person, I thought about her. I visualized her since the beginning.
Yes.
So I can say that I wrote the script thinking about her. But the other character, I wanted someone completely different. So when I finished, then I thought also immediately in Julianne. In one hand, because I love her way of acting.
Yes.
And she's quite unique. She has something very peculiar that only belongs to her.
Yeah.
And yes, then I call her and sending in the script, and she was very happy. So, I think I was very lucky just to work with them, because everything was quicker than I thought. Because I direct very much the actors. I told them many things. Sometimes I think I'm talking too much to the actors. Because with them, and I rehearse a lot. Yeah. With them, we start rehearsing during the pre-production, but I recognize that we rehearse less than when I'm talking in Spanish, because they didn't need it. No. And also, they were very direct to what I wanted. In this movie, I remember that I made less takes than in my Spanish movies.
Yeah.
In my Spanish movies, I can take from 10 to 20 times, and with them, I made from 2 to 4. Just Nothing.
Do you also think that the limitation of the language brought you something positive in that sense? Besides that they were such good actresses, you were limited and therefore you think it was more efficient in a way?
Yeah, I think so. And also because they were very inspired all the time. Usually there is a type of actress that needs to make one, and the 10 times is much better, and even the 15 times it is really amazing. So I do all the 15 takes. But with them, I mean, the first take, it was very good. So I just to be sure, I make the second one and the third one. But they were very much, I mean, focused. They were perfect, both of them.
Yes.
So I said, that's enough.
Right.
It was a big surprise for me.
Yeah.
But with Tilda and Julianne, it was something different and quicker and very moving.
Yes, very moving.
Very moving.
And are you afraid of death yourself?
Absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, this is, I don't know if say quality, but this is something that I add to Julianne's character, to Ingrid. This is exactly the way that I feel. I mean, I don't accept it. I don't understand it. Even if we have many, thousands of examples every day, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But in this field, I feel very immature. I think every day I think about that, but I...
You don't accept it?
No, I don't.
You're in denial?
I don't, and also I'm not a believer. So, I mean, in Spain, Spain is a non-confessional country. I mean, there is not an official religion, but the majority is Catholic.
Right.
So I'm not.
No.
I don't.
You don't believe in anything? You think it ends?
No, I'm atheist.
Yes.
So if you are like that, then and you don't have any kind of support. So, I mean, I'm sure that, because the movie is about mortality, that after that, I mean, after the body is finished, I'm sure that the spirit is somewhere. I don't think the people ends with the death.
No.
But there is a mystery for me.
Yes, but I was so pleasantly surprised, because your movie is about death, of course, and about sickness and saying goodbye. I was afraid to watch it, to be honest with you, because I knew it was going to be about that, and it's one. I'm the same as you, that I almost feel like I'm a child in that I don't want it to end, and I'm
like
enjoying.
A child, you say.
And so I was afraid, but then I was so pleasantly surprised that for me the movie was so warm, and so
Yeah.
I felt somehow way more at ease with death after watching the movie.
Thank you. You know, I tried to make that in that way. I didn't want to make a dark movie or sordid or gory. No, because the movie represents the vitality of Martha's character. And in this case, death is something that she decided. So she's the owner of her life, but also the owner of her death. And I think this is a right, this is a human right that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, in Spain, I don't know in your country. In Spain, we have euthanasia law.
Yeah, we have that too in the Netherlands, where I'm from.
Yeah,
we have
because
that too.
in Europe there is only 4th country.
Yeah.
So there is a big debate everywhere.
Yes.
Here, for example.
Yes.
I mean, religion is always a problem for that, because I mean, in my country, the Catholic thinks that God gives you the life, and He is the only one just to take it away.
Yeah.
And what I ask to that people is just to respect the people that, like me, that we don't believe exactly like them, and we decided.
Yes.
Just to respect that.
Yeah. It's becoming a bigger and bigger topic, I think, also because people are growing older. More people are growing older than ever before.
Yes. In Spain, we are older than ever.
Exactly. So it's very relevant. The movie is incredibly relevant. And what I also loved about it, that for me it was so much about friendship. I also loved that she already asked her other friends to assist her. You know, she's very ill, so of course she has a reason. And she asked, and nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to help her and be in the next room, right? And that is so recognizable for me, being a woman alone. I don't have a family. So I was so relating to that, where I was like, oh, what if I ask my friends, what would they say? And then she finds her.
Yeah, that theme is very important in the movie, just to be there. I mean, the fact to be close to someone.
Yeah.
And sometimes this is the only thing we can do for the people we love, for our friends, our lovers, our family, just to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, even without talking.
Yes, just to hold the space, just to sit with each other.
And this kind of solidarity, it is sometimes bigger than love because it's less complicated than if you are in love with someone.
Yeah.
So nice here. I'd like to stay if you don't mind.
No, of course not.
So I prefer a little deep friendship between them than a romantic relation.
Me too, very much. I mean, the contradiction is...
I mean, the movie is about to give company.
Yes, yes, but the contradiction of life is, of course, that we keep longing for a romantic partner, right? It's like, it's so primal, but friendships are more, they are more unconditional. They last, most of the time, incredibly long. And it's a beautiful thing, and I thought that your movie celebrates that in every way.
And in my movie also, they talk about sex. You remember that?
Yes.
It is Martha basically was, I mean, is a war reporter, and I love that she says that sometimes when she cannot sleep, she remember, I mean, all men that she made love, even one night.
Yeah.
I mean, I read some books about war reporters, female reporter, and really in all of them, I mean, at the end of the day, after watching horrible tragedies, they drink a lot and they fuck a lot.
Yes.
And also, I agree with her that sexual pleasure is one of the best seals that we have. I mean, the Carmelites in my movie, they are in Baghdad because they are together.
Yes.
And also just to fight against death. I mean, I think our sexuality is one of the best weapons we have.
It's Eros and Thanatos.
And Eros and Thanatos.
Eros and Thanatos, sex and death.
And so you had many things to say about sex because your movies, there is a lot of sexuality in your movie.
Yes, that's right.
When did you start writing? How did you start? I mean, where comes the idea, the first idea?
I directed my first American movie called Bodies, 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 and coming.
Yeah, I knew the title.
And then coming out of that, I knew because Bodies, Bodies, Bodies wasn't my own script. I made it very much my own together with Sarah Deleb. We rewrote it. And I loved doing it, but after all my classical theater background, it was very refreshing to do something more fun because Bodies is a horror comedy. And it was about group behavior. Basically, the question, is the beast inside us or outside of us? Uh-huh. And so that is what I think is sort of my main theme is, are we beasts or are we civilized? What is driving me? And I find it very...
we are both.
Yeah, we are both, exactly. But I'm often very surprised by my own behavior where I think, you know, I'm smart, I read books, I should know everything, and then I do something completely against all of my knowledge, something that I know is bad for me, and I'm just like going there. And so I had this question around my own rage, my own sexual desire, all of the things that I'm embarrassed about, that I'm ashamed of. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is it possible to love all the parts of myself? Is it possible to love my darkness, to love my... And that's why I wanted to write that movie.
It's more healthy.
Yes, it's way more healthy, but it's sometimes hard.
No, because sometimes, I recognize that, in Pain and Glory, for example, that I ask myself, I'm ready really to write about this. And not only that, I'm ready to talk with the journalist about this thing that is so personal. Because sometimes when the character demands something from you, you have to take into your guts and take something that perhaps you don't want to do it at the moment, but it's always better. It's always better.
Yes.
And I found it very interesting that now, in this moment, for example, in Spain, there is a big debate among the feminists, but among the society in general, about the consentimiento.
Consent.
Yes. Not only in a rape, even with a boyfriend, but also in the marriage, with your husband. So there is a big, big, big debate, and it's very delicate to whom believe. So in this moment like that, you make a movie that the incredible Nicole Kidman, she wants to be, ¿cómo se dice? Sumisión.
She wants to be dominated, and she wants to be submissive herself, and she wants to be dominated by this young man.
I don't know what the feminists think about that, but I think that she's the owner, she's empowered,
yes.
because she's the one that decides to be in that position, and that is very interesting.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Yes.
I consider myself a feminist, and I think true feminism, for me personally, is that we can be all of those things. I was always in the wings watching men play Richard III and Macbeth and all these like characters that were corrupt and that had all these desires, and and I as a female had to do Ophelia, which like has 5 scenes and starts as a virgin and then before you know it commits suicide. So I wanted to create a part for a woman that would be all of those things, that would be a wonderful mother and a wife, but also a lover who's crawling around on her hands and knees, because I am so confused by this idea that I have to play all those different roles in my life. And I just wanted to see if I could make a movie where, in the end, she's more integrated and she finds some kind of liberation. And to me, that is feminism, that we now get a little bit more space to sort of explore all these different sides of being a woman.
And do you think that she was auto-repressed in the marriage since the moment that she find this boy?
I think if Antonio
she's repressed that.
I think that if Antonio Banderas and Nicole Kidman in their characters would have sit down before the movie and she would have been radically honest with her husband, I think the movie wouldn't have to take place. I think because she is suppressing that, because she has this idea that a lot of us have, that she has to be perfect. That's why she sits in the ice bath, she does the Botox, she does the therapy. She thinks I can just, as long as I can erase all my imperfections, then I will be loved, then I will be happy. But she doesn't truly let her beast come out. Also not with her husband, who's not even asking her to hide the beast in the cupboard. She's doing that. She's making the beast fall asleep all the time until she can't anymore and it wakes up and it comes. Yep. And so it's a cautionary tale for me about suppression. For myself.
Yeah.
Trying to...
Oh, good. And what about the end? After she explained more or less everything to the husband, do you think that, of course, that their relation is going to change?
Yes.
And adapted to the real condition.
Yes, I think that, and of course my movie is also a fable and a fairy tale, so I don't know, it's not a documentary, but it's a hope.
Of course.
It's a hope.
I know.
It's a hope that they meet each other where they are. They meet each other on the marital bed at the end, the husband and the wife, and they meet each other where they are. And what I find very beautiful is that Antonio then allows her, in his character of Jacob, allows her to go into her own world. And who does she see? Her ex-lover. Because that we are constantly, when we're in bed together, we're surrounded by the ghosts of our past and the ghosts of what we saw in movies or a poster of an actor we like or whatever. And that's okay. You can still be very intimate with each other, at the same time be in your own fantasy world.
Yeah. So it's a happy end.
It's a happy end. It is a happy end, literally and figuratively.
I work many times with Antonio.
I know that, of course. He was talking about you constantly.
Yeah, well, there is 2 actors in your movie that I work. With Esther McGregor too.
Yes.
That is in my movie.
Yes, so she plays the young Tilda Swinton.
The young Tilda Swinton.
And in my movie, she plays the oldest daughter of Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
And she's an amazing actress, don't you think?
Oh, she's incredible.
Very special.
No, I love very much. The energy, because the casting she made, it was very brief. I love her physically. The hair, how
face.
And so happy, so strong. Even she's very young. She has this kind of strength that also Tilda has when she's older. And with Antonio, we start making movies together.
I know.
Her first movie, he came from Malaga, and when he was in Madrid 3 months, we meet each other and we made Labyrinth of Patience. And she's there many, many movies more.
Yes.
7 movies more.
Yes.
And how do you think of him when you were writing? When and how?
Well, so I wrote
It was your first choice?
Yes. Oh, yes. So I wrote the draft, and then me and Noah Sacco is the head of film of A24, who has amazing casting ideas. And I was explaining to him, I said, I need a man for this specifically for the husband of Romy, of Nicole Kidman, that is very masculine, macho, because I want it not to be about, of course he's going to cheat on him because he's whatever. No, I want him to be this amazing, warm, sexy character. But also I need someone who can really act, because Nicole has a lot of screen time to show her whole full range. But this part doesn't have that many scenes, but he has to, really be there. And then Noah said, what about Antonio Banderas? And I said, he will never do it. I said, he will never, ever do that. I was like, are you insane? And then Noah said, let's try. And I've never been more nervous in my life. And then he read it, and then we zoomed, and he immediately said, yes.
Can you be a little bit more specific?
I've never experienced any of these fantasies.
He said, yes, I want to support this story about women. I think it's really important about sexuality, that these things that are hidden, especially after Me Too, sometimes we tend to not want to speak about it, or we want to, it was, of course, a very important movement, as we both know, but it's very important to also keep shining a light on all these things inside of us that we are struggling with, because it's more dangerous to suppress them.
It is very important to talk about that, because there was one moment with the Me Too that I thought, as a writer, as a man, and also as a director, that, well, what about to talk about passion? What about to talk that you are seducing someone?
Yes.
And this is an aggression, just to look at someone with desire, which is very important.
It's very important.
That was one of the reasons that I cast Antonio since the beginning, because in the way he looks to the other. In my movies of the 80s, in general, desire was a very important element, and Antonio was like that. He could just think, look at someone, but really with desire, and that is important. And I thought that I was scared that perhaps with the Me Too things, that you cannot be so clear with someone.
Right.
If you are like here on in one elevator, can I look at you? And with my eyes clearly saying that, I really like you, or not.
Yes.
I think it's very important just to do it. And of course, the civilized person and the mature person can say, that is very clear for me, the limits.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yes, please.
When you are,
yes. Yes. No, I think it's incredibly important to, and I love what you're saying about Antonio, by the way. His passion, of course, in everything is amazing and impressive, and just such a joy to work with. And it creates a chemistry between him and whoever is opposite him in a scene that is just electrifying. But I think for me, the Me Too movement has been incredibly important, having been an actress, of course, having experienced a lot of these things that you don't want to experience. So I consider myself part of that, as we all do. But I think at the same time, and that goes for any topic, it's just incredibly important, whether we make theater or paintings or write books or talk to each other, to keep being open and radically honest about these things that are darker inside of us. Because the moment you bring them to the light and you dare to discuss them together, it's healing, and then the danger actually can maybe move away. But when you suppress them and we say, no, it doesn't exist, that is when I become very, very scared, and I also feel isolated. So my movie I also make as a conversation starter. We have these Q&As after the screenings, and sometimes they go very extreme, because it's especially for women to talk about the orgasm gap that exists, and these things are very.
And you talk about that in the Q&As.
In the Q&As, we do. Yes, it's wonderful. Like women, they don't even necessarily want to talk about the movie. They want to talk about what they went through, or or what they hope for, and this is such a taboo, even under women. We all lie to each other. That has been very liberating.
Did you have an intimacy coordinator, or yes?
Yes, and
you think you need it?
I think it's, what I love about intimacy coordinators is, in my mind, they teach me tricks just like a stuntman. So when I am doing a fight scene and a stuntman says, well, if you do this, it will look more extreme. And with sexuality on screen, it's the same. So they can teach you little tricks that actually, are way less intimate to do, but they have an effect that is more extreme. So I think it's great. I think it only gives me more freedom. It gives me more what I want, and I like to Lizzie, she was called. I love to talk to her when I'm creating these scenes in my head, when I'm choreographing them. She gives me ideas. So for me, it was very lovely. I like it.
What, does that turn you on when I say that?
Your movie is quite explicit.
Yes.
That I applaud.
Thank you.
in this moment, and but I think the one of the keys is that Nicole is completely. I imagine her saying to you, I mean, just do with me whatever you want. I mean, absolutely fearless and ready to do everything you demanded. It was like that.
She was completely
nervous.
open. Completely open. Yeah, I think she really knew what the movie was, of course, because she read the very first draft of the script, and she really wanted to do it. And I think she also knew after her insanely beautiful career that she wanted to go back to this movie, which is a little bit smaller, and a little bit darker. And we really went there together, and she was incredibly vulnerable, but also Antonio, I think, and Harris, and all of them. I'm super grateful that they gave me the trust. And having been an actress, I think my full priority is that they feel mentally safe, and physically, of course, also. But because I've experienced myself a lot, I think that is so ingrained in me that I want to create this very sweet environment. And I also have the limitation of language. I really do, because English is not my first language, Dutch is. So often when I direct, I
really
use my full body.
To talk like you.
You are perfect. You're absolutely perfect.
I know that I'm not.
No, but in the heat of the moment, I get like, I want to explain you something, and then I explain it physically. I can like move my body in a way where I explain it like that.
But anyway, I think because now, curiously, the more explicit movies about sex, they are directed by women. I mean, The Substance, Titan. There are many movies.
Yes.
And I think it's good because in one part, I mean, in my movies, there is a lot of sexual scene, the love-making scene. But I think that, the male directors and male writers, we don't know completely what is the female pleasure. You are the one to tell about that. It was obvious that we couldn't. The male director, we couldn't do that.
No, I agree in the sense that, you could even ask yourself as a woman, what is the female gaze really? Like, I really need to bring full consciousness to myself to not slip into my own male gaze. Because I've been raised also in the theater, I've only worked with very dominant, amazing geniuses of men. But I made it sort of like I really was the muse figure. And I really loved being that because my father died when I was very young. So I was really looking for that kind of father figure. Yeah. But so now it's very important for me. Like now I'm like, okay, now I am the father. I'm the father figure. And then I want to be female. Like you said, I want to really, and I really had to think about it. Like, what is the pure female gaze? But I agree with you. I think it's an exploration.
But you don't need that. You are female, so the gaze is yours. So it's a natural female gaze.
True.
And I got the feeling that in this movie, thinking about Nicole and you, I got the feeling that being two women, that the conversation that you have with Nicole, saying her the things you want to do, just in the love-making scene, in the sexual scene, I think that conversation is different if Nicole has to talk about that with a man.
Yes.
I think it's much more clear if you two are women. With a man, I think it's difficult to talk with the same kind of depth about that sequences. It's much easier that you both are women.
I think you're absolutely right, but I also think still that I think part of her journey in the movie is also that she has to liberate herself from the idea of I only want to be what you want me to be. Like she says literally to Antonio, she says, I want to be the woman you like. I just want to be normal. I want to be what you like. And that is how we are still programmed, fully. We just got the right to vote, basically. It's a couple of years ago, Mm-hmm. So I think that it's very important that we liberate ourselves. Yeah. So me and Nicole also had to think about and become radically honest with each other, because women are not always about our own secrets, our own vulnerabilities, and then we could do it. But it was interesting to me how much work it still was for myself to really know what is it then exactly that I want. It's not that I have this secret of this is what I want. Yeah. No, I don't even know what I want. I'm just being born.
Discovering.
Yeah, it's a discovery. We're just like and now we get a little more space as female directors and female storytellers, and it's a very interesting time. I'm very excited about it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I got the feeling also that sometimes Nicole, as an actress and also as a person, is vulnerable and feel insecure and doing the more extreme sequence, but that was good for the character. Also.
Yes. You mean the vulnerability and almost the fragility of it. Yes, I agree, because both of them, of course, because the movie also, I hope, is about masculinity, because the young man is also trying out masculine, and he's saying to her, giving her a command, and then he's laughing. He doesn't even know, should I be embarrassed? Am I okay asking you this? Is it? So they're both kind of like experimenting with what is masculinity, what is femininity, what is domination, what is submission. And I think they're both extremely vulnerable in the sexual scenes.
Yeah.
And for me, that is also funny. For me, and that is what I admire so much about your work, that even though the topics can be incredibly dark and dramatic and about life and death and sexuality, there's always humor. And I find that incredibly important, humor. The movie still needs to be, in my mind, a Trojan horse that you can laugh, you can have fun, you're entertained, and then underneath that all, we can put all the...
Yeah, it's easier always if you use humor in that kind of strong themes. It is always easy.
Always easier. And it allows you to open up. I find myself as an audience, it allows you to breathe out and say, okay, I go on this journey. Because again, with The Room Next Door, I was like, oh no, what am I going to feel when I see this movie? And I only felt seen by it, very seen. It really moved me and very warm. And there was a lot of humor in it, I feel. Like Julianne Moore also brings this very specific humor, the scene with the personal trainer. I thought it was all funny. And also even at the house in the forest, that Tilda say, oh, I know that yesterday I was awful. I mean, I cannot be like that, but I cannot promise you because of my chemo brain. So I leave here these kind of pills for anxiety. I mean, for you to relax.
For you, in the case that I'm, and then Julianne said, oh my God, you are one of a kind. And I could, in that specific sequence, I could be more funny, but Tilda was ready to be beyond that. But Julianne told me that she was afraid to be offending someone that is sick.
Right.
And then I said, no, we try to be a little funny, but Julianne is superb and it's fantastic in the movie. But I also see that Julianne is American, and Tilda belongs to a different place, Scottish in this case. I mean, we don't have this kind of fear of being offending someone.
Yes, no, it's a different culture.
I mean, I don't know, when you start writing, you feel, oh, I have to be careful not to offend. When you start writing, you try to be the more honest.
Yes.
And of course you are offending someone, but
It
this is part of life, this is part of our game, and this is part also of making cinema. You try to make something original and something deep and something that perhaps you are even ashamed of that.
Yes.
That you have to be free completely at the moment of being. So I think I got the feeling that in Europe we got this kind, in a natural way, this kind of freedom at the moment of creating one script or making a movie.
Completely. I mean, the Dutch people, they say that we are the most blunt people in the world, the most impolite people in the world. So that took me a little, we're like farmers a little bit.
Yeah.
So it took me a little bit of an adjustment when I arrived in the US. It's very different. But I do think what I love about your work, and I've always loved, because European artists can be very dark and very unforgiving. And I feel in your films, even though, again, you touch upon taboo subjects, you are radically honest in my mind, but at the same time, there's always a warmth. There's always a love.
I always think that they are human beings, people. For example, in Talk to Her, which it was very difficult to talk about this psycho, which is the nurse, that he understands the life and everything in a neurotic way. But I try to, the spectator, to be empathy with him. Because what I'm trying to say about this boy, this man, is the humanity of his.
Yes.
That, of course, he rapes the women come out. Of course, that is awful. That is a crime. But I try to understand him.
Yes.
That always, even if they do awful things, I try to explain them like human beings, and then everybody understand that. So I really would like to keep on talking about Nicole Kidman, and also to keep on talking how much do you do admire my work. So let's start with Nicole, because I mean you work with one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. How Nicole arrives to your project?
Well, so I made my first very small, incredibly small Dutch movie.
Yeah.
Very small. It was about a therapist, this was based on a true story, who fell in love with a rapist that she was treating in jail. Very dark movie.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Carice van Houten, who's my best friend, she played the lead. You know, we made it with Dutch government money, incredibly small. Everybody would participate for free.
How can I see that movie?
I will send it to you right away.
Good.
But this movie never came out in America.
Yep.
And Nicole, being who she is, always searching for female directors, found it, watched it, and called me. And then we started to speak. So first I worked on a project that she brought me, because she has this production company called Blossom Films. And I really enjoyed that because, like you, I always worry about language. So I was not sure I could write in English, I could work in English, I wasn't sure. And then, so I wrote on something for her in English that gave me a lot of confidence. And I had fun with it because it wasn't my own film. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed that. And then I made Bodies. And then after Bodies, I really had that one question, like, how do I love this dark part of myself? And so I wanted to write this script. So I told her, I was like, listen, I'm just gonna take some time off of everything else because I'm writing my own script. It's called Babygirl. She was like, what is that? And I was like, well, I tell you later. And then I sent her the first draft. Yeah, first draft. And immediately she was like,
oh, that was very easy.
Yeah, so that was how it... And then I love to collaborate with actors. So then we had endless conversations and I do rewrites. But same with Harris Dickinson and same with Antonio. I love talking to actors and getting inspired by them and using things, even little things that they, like Harris, for instance, when we met, he said to me, you shouldn't drink so much coffee. Like he said something super fatherly and I was like, oh, that's great. Like,
you shouldn't drink coffee after lunch. How many do you drink a day?
None of your business. 7.
Very often they say things to me, the actors, also with Bodies, I did that all the time. That's why Bodies for me felt also so accurate for their generation, but that was because it was constantly collaborating and feeding off of them and writing down things they were saying to each other, working with the actors. So that's how.
So I suppose that you seem to keep on working with her, because when you find someone that really understands you very well and you get that relation, or this relation, I think it's good to keep on working together.
Yeah, because you did that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you come back and back and back. I love that.
Because then there is, you save time with that. When I work with Penelope Cruz or Antonio, I know that they understood me and I understand them, and that makes everything quicker. And also it's nice to work with friends.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
And in the theater, I was with one group for 20 years. So what I also love...
20 years?
Yeah, with mainly one director.
You were a child when you start.
Yeah, and then what I love about it also is that you see each other grow in life. Like you meet each other again and you play with the same actor, and now he's 10 years older, and you play opposite each other different roles. And with the director, everybody grows and has different experiences and brings that back to the art. And I would love to work with all of my
really, this is how I felt. Como se dice, una compañía estable, like a stable company.
Yes, an
but
ensemble
making movies.
Yes.
Like in the theater.
Yes, no, those people were all my brothers and sisters and children and fathers and mothers, and I miss them to this day so much. I still try to see their work and follow them. But yeah, it's a very special thing. And of course, that's also the beauty of what Europe has is government money, where the experiment and that you can, we all had, very small, but we all had a salary that we could live off of. And we had the trust of the company and, knowing that you can play all these different parts. So I'm very grateful for that. And
this is an amazing school. I think it's the best you could do. And what was the last play you did?
Well, The Human Voice, because
The Human Voice.
The Human Voice, that was my very last performance ever. I think I will never.
You were very respectful with the text. With the words of Cocteau, because I couldn't be respectful.
No, but I loved what you did with it. I absolutely adored what you did with it. I was laughing because I know it so well. To me, it was amazing.
No, I converted into a
also
revenge story, and but you were faithful.
No, Ivo told me that my director. He said to me, "You do your own version." So he gave me the play, and I rewrote it. So not that extreme as you guys did. I wasn't allowed to do that.
I did it too much.
No, I understand. No, I tried to make it my own. But no, I remember very well during COVID, because the whole concept of the play was according to Ivo Rear Window. So I was at the highest floor of a big building in his mind. So I was playing behind the glass, one big window. And I played the whole thing, and then at the end I jump out of the window. And so for COVID I could play because I was behind glass. And so I would play this during COVID the whole time. And then I remember so well, I went on and I felt this is my very last performance ever. And I just wrote one friend, I said, I think this is my last thing on stage. And there was nobody there because it was all isolated. There was no flowers, not that was the end.
Talking alone. No, it's like a ghost. No, for me that was interesting, just to present Tilda like a ghost, talking, because that was the beginning of using these earphones. Then you are talking like a crazy woman.
Like a psychopath.
And it's a psychopath. And also I made it short because I felt really like I was debutant, like it was my first movie. So I could see, the interior or the place, but I could see also how it is built. And she's confined to that. But also the place is confined in a big sound stage.
Studio, yeah.
So it was very good to experiment for that. But also I couldn't respect, I respect the spirit, but at the moment when Cocteau wrote the play, it was the 1930, I think. So, I think it was impossible now to see contemporary women that they can be identified with that.
Yes, I understand.
It's too old. So that was the reason that I make it more contemporary and more active. More that, not that I'm sorry, I'm guilty. No. I'm furious, and what I want is just to kill you. As I can't, I'm going to burn the house. Can you watch the smoke? This is how I am and how I feel.
And I love how she walks out with the dog and they're companions and they survive and it's amazing. But just for people who don't understand what we're talking about, so this is a solo...
You have a dog too?
No, for us it was all imagined. So I would be the dog. I would play the dog. I would become the dog. I would be like... But and the whole thing, so just to explain very quickly what it is, it's a solo piece written by Cocteau. It was a comment on the invention of the telephone. So it is all about, in France at that time, a lot of married men had a female lover, right? And so this woman is a female lover of this man that's going to get married. Yeah. And he calls her for the very last time. And at that moment, phones were very new. So she was, of course, like, if I could only look in your eyes, like she's trying to make him come over, right? And she's trying to keep him on the phone because she knows when he hangs up, I don't have oxygen anymore, I will die. And she hangs herself on the phone cord. And so this is a very masochistic, you could say, anti-feminist, very, very a woman, And so in your version, it's much more strong, it's more liberated. But I loved...
it was much more fun for us too.
Yeah. And there's a lot of humor in it.
And also, I didn't like the idea. For example, I saw, of course, when Rossellini did it with Anna Magnani.
Yes.
And I also saw one production in Broadway with Ingrid Bergman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she was great, but I didn't like. Just thinking about a movie, even a short one, of someone that is unique. With a telephone like this, no, I needed just to walk to move with her.
Yeah, so she has the ear.
And that was very contemporary, but also in a dramatic way, they were very interesting that it was a woman talking, and you don't know to whom, because she's alone.
Yes.
I mean, with the dog, that also the dog is in, ¿cómo se dice? En duelo, mourning like she is.
Yes.
So they were two.
Yes, she completely identifies with the dog.
Yes,
yeah, she
abandoned
says the dog.
by the same women.
Yeah.
But you know that I was completely obsessed with the human voice because the 1986 is the first time that I include part of the human voice in the Law of Desire.
Oh, wow.
In Law of Desire, it was Carmen Maura. I put a small part of the human voice because I was really obsessed at that moment. I did it in my own way.
Why were you so obsessed with it? What is it of the human voice?
I don't know why. I mean, with human voice, perhaps because the first time that I saw it with Ana Magnani, I was very impressed. And then I remember that. So in Law of Desire, I put a small part, but I love it. And I loved how Carmen Maura was the actress in there. So for the following movie, I thought to make only the human voice, but as the human voice is a 30 minutes more or less play, I needed 1 hour more when I write. So I thought, oh my God, 1 hour. Then my idea was to take the character, waiting for the man, but take her 48 hours before. So she's crazy, she's trying to find him, she put the apartment on Airbnb or hire. And then once the apartment is open, many people come inside. And so she has to interact with them. And there is a moment when it was not necessary to have the conversation because she was very busy with the other desperate women. And that was how it was born, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. That there is only left, if you remember, Carmen Maura with a baggage full of the things of men, crying and alone, but there is not the conversation.
Right.
The telephone conversation.
Beautiful. I like that a lot.
It's good when you have one idea and the idea disappears but it drives you to something that perhaps it was waiting for you.
Yeah.
So I was like upset. So with Tilda, I said, no, this time I'm going to be serious. But even in that situation, I couldn't be serious.
No, you made it your own. In our version, I let the phone go after, and she just is talking to herself, basically. And like you said, which I loved. I always love to put the phone down and. Yeah, but it was. I loved when you did that with Tilda. It kind of felt like a liberation to me because I felt quite locked up in the play for 15 years, playing it all over the world alone, touring China. It was pretty intense.
It's like being
but it's
in prison
a little bit
of a play.
And literally being in a glass cage. But it was interesting how it resonated all over the world with people. I think it's the topic of addictive love, addictive romantic love that is so universal. Yeah. And everyone has experienced that even when they are very young or old, or it doesn't matter, or where they are in which country. And that is a topic that interests me a lot.
I mean, me too. And I love this kind of characters, that they are crazy about someone.
Yeah, and do everything.
To see what they do. And in this case, I think that women, you are much more active like men, because I remember in the 80s that they asked me, the journalists, do you conceive, men at the verge of a nervous breakdown? Of course. We suffer when we are abandoned, and we are very sad, but we are very boring, very dull. A female, a woman goes to the street, try to find who is the other one, trying to find her. It's much more, as a dramatic subject, it is much more interesting if you do it with a woman than with a man. Men, we are very dull. And also with no conscience of being ridiculous, which is very important.
So how did the end of The Room Next Door came to you? Did that change?
Yes.
Was it already there?
At the beginning, I thought that the ending, it was the death. But immediately during the script, I think it was very important just to talk about euthanasia problems, just to take Ingrid, and because you have to need a conversation with the policeman. and the policeman should be very ugly men. So you could see that the character of Julianne changed completely. It was like Martha, it gives her a kind of transference. In a way, Julianne behaved like Martha, with this kind of strength. But, I mean, the really ending, it was when Michelle, the daughter of Martha, came to the house in the woods. And it was curious because I don't believe in reincarnation, but it was a kind of reincarnation in the character of Ingrid, because Michelle is full of questions to ask. And for once, Ingrid, Julianne Moore, could answer all that question of the daughter that the mother couldn't because their relationship was awful. So I wanted the two of them on the launcher, but at the beginning, Ingrid it was very moved because Michelle is dressed with the mother pyjama, and also is performed by the same actress, so it's very much alike.
Yeah, because
Martha.
Tilda plays her daughter as well.
Yeah, and then she was and she said, well, your mother also wake up at dawn and came here just to listen to the birds. And what I thought is just to leave them and to see in the sky a lot of birds, like greeting them, I mean, moving. It was a way to say, oh, hello, I'm here for Martha. Yeah. But really at the end, I mean, the day before shooting, the end, I thought that in the movie is so important, the snow. I mean, it is snowing at the cemetery, it's falling in many places, falling upon the living and the dead, which is a beautiful ending.
Beautiful.
Then I wanted that Ingrid completely being herself, but being also Martha, finished the movie just talking about snowing. But also, I mean, in my mind, I think that the spectator doesn't see that, but they don't need it. I mean, in my mind, it was like Martha was really reincarnated in the snow. So it was like Martha is snowing on the body of Michelle and on her friend.
Beautiful.
That was,
it's so beautiful.
And they did it wonderful, so I was very moved. Sometimes I cry, can you believe it? Did you cry in your movie? No, you don't.
No, but I do when also when Nicole was acting sometimes, it moved me a lot. I would not show it, of course, but I would be behind the money, I would be like, oh.
No, but I think it's awful that one director who is crying in one shooting. I mean, there was one moment when I had to hide myself, to hide myself in the restroom.
Yes.
Because I think the people don't respect you. They look at you.
No, of course, and you don't want to show. It can look a little bit vain, but it's.
I mean, you mean the power. You mean the one that said.
Yeah, you have to be the father and the mother.
Yes, the father, the mother, the lover, the brother.
You don't want to show
everything.
Your emotion.
That's true. The director is everything, basically for the actors.
Yes.
Everything. The father, the mother, the friend, the brother.
Yes.
And also the enemy.
Yes,
everything.
Of course.
And this is what the director is. This is the nature.
Very well
of us.
said. It's very well said.
Monsters.
Yeah, but sometimes what they're doing is so moving, and of course, especially the kind of actors you've always worked with, and like me working with Nicole and Antonio, that sometimes I was so impressed by their performance that it does kind of make you tear up. It's just, especially because it's live, it's happening in front of you. So it can be very moving and beautiful to watch. But I love what you're saying about the ending of your movie. And I think that is also why, because Tilda comes back, even though she is now the daughter, it kind of also, it leaves you with such hope. Again, that was my biggest takeaway, just a little bit closer to death when I watched your movie than being just like, oh God. Oh.
No, me too, because, I mean, basically all the sequences we shoot in the house in the forest, I mean, they were Tilda Swinton, Julianne Moore, me, but also the death was there, like part of our conversation.
Like a character.
I felt the presence of death very clearly.
Yes.
And the character, and Julianne and me, we were like day by day accustomed to that presence.
Yes, and I think for me, sometimes making movies, but also theater, can be almost like a psychosomatic act, where it feels like a ritual, where you're also sort of like provoking these energies or these, to come to you. And that is why it can be very thrilling and also scary sometimes a little bit to witness these kind of like energies and when everybody starts to reenact situations. And that is also why it can be moving and really come straight into your heart. But I loved your ending. I walked away from that movie feeling better.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
When is your movie releasing here?
On Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day is good. Good.
Which is, a little bit ironic.
In Spain, do you know anything about Spain?
No, but I will look it up and send it with my first movie to you in a little package.
Oh, yeah.
But the ending of my movie it changed also a little bit. I think the most important thing that I always had in my head was everything you were saying really, is that I wanted all the characters to be ambiguous. I think normally in a sexual thriller in the 90s, somebody has to die. If a woman would cheat, she would have to be punished. There's a villain and a good person. And for me, it was very important that all 4 characters had dark sides and beautiful sides, that they were all devils and angels.
And also it's more interesting to talk about the darker sides.
Yes, and we're all human.
And also it's very important not to punish anyone, because then manichaeism, I think, is the worst.
Yes.
If you write a story. I mean, you have it very clear. So congratulations. And it was a pleasure to talk to you. And you promised me to send me your first movie.
I will.
Okay.
I promise you. Thank you so much for talking to me. I'm very honored.
It was a big pleasure.